Hey there. So, we're going to be talking today about how to get that stage power. They say one of the things next to death is people who speak in public, right? So, how do you really come over that, get over speaking on stage and having that commanding presence on stage? So, Lynetta Houston, and I think I pronounced her name. I just asked her before, Linnita Houston is our guest. And we're going to be talking about how she really helps people, especially those in the C suite and executive, speak better in public. So we'll talk about that right after this. So, Speak Sell Shine is where I met Linnita Houston. Well, not really. I knew her before then, but she's been in Speakers Magazine before. But she was in Speakers Magazine as a youth speaker, but not anymore. This is what she is now. She's unlocking leadership potential to fearless public speaking to C-suite executives, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because how you sound makes a bit of a difference of whether you're going to get promoted or not. It's not what you know, it's how you sound and how you command the stage. So she's an award-winning public speaking coach, executive communication trainer, and a philanthropist. She coaches aspiring and current C-suite leaders to overcome the fear of public speaking. Linnita started as a youth speaker, traveling the country equipping high school and college students with leadership and communication skills. Then, after writing 3 books and 2 curriculums for young adults, and teaching communication courses at 2 universities, Linnita embarked on a new challenge, helping leaders address the discomfort and fears they have towards public speaking. Linnita hosts a weekly podcast entitled Excellence in Everything Live, where she gives communication tips, tools, and strategies to increase your confidence, competence, and competitive advantage. She has been honored with various awards: Excellence in Education, Youth Speaker of the Year, 40 Under 40 in Education, Education Book of the Year, Alumni of the Year, Leading Women of the Year, and Dominating Entrepreneur of the Year. She is passionate about developing a voice to pursue your highest goals and desires. And then basically now you can also reach her on a new website called Vocal Values. But before we even start talking about vocal values, you're going to actually meet her right now. Linnita Houston. Yay!
Hey, Pam.
How are you?
I am well. I am well. Thank you so
Good.
much for the
Good.
for
Uh,
reading all of the accolades.
yes. Well, we actually met before Speak, Sell, and Shine. So tell
We
people
did.
about what you got out of Speak, Sell, and Shine before we kind of get into that. And then you, like I said, you were a youth speaker before, and that's how we met. I think we met through BSN, Black Speakers
Yep.
Network. So Brian O, shout out to Brian O's. We're the official magazine for BSN. So kind of tell us a little bit about Speak Sell Shine, what it was like for you.
Yeah, it was the perfect opportunity to update some of my public facing assets. Since I was in the middle of pivoting, it gave me a chance to update my video footage and my images that were in front of adult audiences as I pivoted from working with younger populations to adults. And then to also kind of learn a little bit more about the sales system and strategies used to target corporate organizations. So it was super, super helpful.
Good, good. And PR. So PR was a big thing about it. So she's just being real modest right now because she was in this magazine, New York Weekly. She was in Speakers Magazine, but she had a
It's true.
double spread in here as well. So you can see the beautiful pictures there, but you can read the story as well in the New York Weekly, which she was in as well. So the youth speaker, you've done all the things in as youth speaker. So now we're really talking about really being a public speaker coach. So kind of tell us a little bit about where that idea came from and how you're really using it to give people what they call stage power.
Yeah, and I love that term too, stage power. I didn't have the polish presentation that you see today. was not a natural skill set. I was not born speaking this way. In my the beginning of my career, I was not a very polished presenter. I struggled with articulation and pronunciation, and I
Mm,
just wasn't comfortable being in front of people. And when people hear that, they're often surprised because today it doesn't appear that way. And so I was fascinated with the fact that public speaking is actually a skill set that I've developed. It's not a natural thing that I love to do. It's a skill set that has opened a lot of doors along the way. Building confidence to negotiate salaries, negotiate contracts, speaking up to ask for opportunities, also being in front of high visibility, um, what we call them, dignitaries, feeling comfortable serving in those spaces. And the byproduct of that is that you feel better, or I felt better just about me, not about the work that I was doing, but it started to grow my confidence.
mhm.
And I was like, you know what? There's power in teaching people this transformative skill so that they can also experience an increase in their personal and professional development. So that's kind of like where my interest came. Clearly could connect um, the power of public speaking skills to how I grew personally, not just monetarily, but the
Mhm.
personal growth that kind of changed how I interacted with other people and my family. And I wanted other people to have that skill set. So that
So
was
do you
the
think,
catapult.
Lanita, do you think it is the vocal quality? Because a lot of people, when they're speaking, they say, "I don't like the way I sound. I don't like
Yeah.
the way I don't like my voice. I don't like the
Hmm.
way I sound." Or is it that they're so nervous of what people are thinking as they're speaking?
Yeah.
That's always a big one.
I think it's both, Pam. No one likes their voice. I didn't like my voice. In fact, I had to train the way it sounds now because I naturally have a high pitched voice. So
Mm,
learning to speak from my diaphragm. People have
mm,
a visual like personality, like based on how you're clothed, the colors that you wear. But then they have a vocal personality too. So
yeah,
people draw conclusions about you and your competency based on your tone, tonality, or lack thereof.
right.
And so, yeah, I do think that it is that the vocal element, but also that nervousness piece, which is a human reaction and feeling. If you're not feeling nervous, then I don't know. We need to do some tests, some other tests. But nervousness is natural, and it should be welcome. I think when we are most prepared, we'll still have that nervousness, but it will subside. And
Mm,
any influential person, including Jay-Z at this year's Grammys, admitted to being nervous. And so it's a
yes,
natural thing. So it's something that you can definitely push and work through. And I always say using your voice is like a muscle. So the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So the
that's
more
true.
confidence you gain by using it, like, okay, I'll be nervous, but it goes away. Okay, I'm petrified, but I know it'll go away. And so just building that muscle over time definitely helps.
That is so true because no one, well, I won't say no one. No one is, unless they're around people that they know, but no one really likes speaking in front of strangers
Yep.
because you don't know what the strangers are thinking. So when
Mhm.
I was in college, I took a speech class.
Yeah.
Hated it because I had to speak in front of folks I didn't know.
Yep.
And I went to a college where I was like the only black. So so not only did I speak in front of people I didn't know, but I spoke I was like the only black in the class. So I really
Yeah.
had like a fear about that. And it is one of the things by the end of the class, the more you did the exercises, the more you did the assignments, the better you got. I still
Yep.
wasn't really like, oh, I'm ready to, join a speaking club or, the debate team
Yeah.
or anything like that. But you do get better. And so a lot
Mhm.
of speakers, even in those that are featured in Speakers Magazine, even your group with Speak Sell Shine, they all get nervous and
Yep.
everybody has a different voice. So explain to people what they're going to get in stage power because it's different. We're speaking over StreamYard, we're speaking over Zoom type of thing.
Yeah.
It's different. They can't really feel our energy.
Yeah.
They can't see us maybe walking back and forth. They can't see our body language. They can only just see the neck up. So give us some
Yeah.
other tips that you um, tell people or teach people in terms of public speaking skills? What other things that are involved? I did hear, was it what did Willie Jolly say it? It speaks shall shine. I can't remember, but someone said that 80% of the speaking that when we're doing a presentation is nonverbal.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? So what are the
that's
other
correct.
pieces then? If it's not the verbal part, like what are they looking at? My eyelashes?
Yeah.
Like what is going on? So explain that part.
For sure. It was earlier research that said 93% of what we communicate is nonverbal and the 7% of it is verbal. But that research was further, I would say, expanded upon, and that 93% actually decreased to 55 nonverbal. The other categories are verbal, tonality, and physical, like what your physical, like your face and your body is doing. And
Mhm.
so in Stage Power Intensive, which is my in-person public speaking masterclass, we do it in person. And what we talk about, which was your question, was um, how to actually manage those body elements, those nonverbal pieces. So you do
Yeah.
have everything. You'd be surprised of how many muscles in your face actually contribute to your vocal cord and the sound that comes out. And
Huh.
so I mentioned earlier that I had to work to improve my pronunciation articulation. Part of that is that I'm using all of the muscles in my mouth. So you'll notice my tongue, my jaw, my lips, they're all moving. Very similar to vocal artists. Singers, when they're singing, you notice that they're emphasizing the words. The whole piece of their mouth is moving. And so we do tongue twister exercises. We break them off into groups and they do their own mini presentations. They have a competition. We talk through breathing exercises. We do breathing activities to help with nervousness. We talk about how nervousness shows up in the body, how to regulate those emotions. And then we also have this other part of the day towards the end where we're working through how to use technology when you are um, presenting information. So that could either be a PowerPoint, it could be
Yes.
data points, it could even be hand printouts. But how do you command the room with all of those elements together, including
Mhm.
music and activities? So that's kind of like the gamut of the agenda for what we do in Stage Power
Love
Intensive.
that. I love that
Yeah.
because some people will rely on those PowerPoints, and I call it death by PowerPoint, where people are just like they're reading the PowerPoint. I'm like, okay, we can
Yeah.
read. We don't need you to read the PowerPoint for us. So I can see that. And then you said technology as well,
Yeah.
which any speaker, I mean, they're afraid that the technology wouldn't work if they have a clicker that doesn't
Mhm.
work, or they have the lights or a video. Sometimes in StreamYard, I can maybe present, show another screen, but maybe I don't go to the right. It throws everybody off. And then
Yep.
the other part you said about uh, po- um, the other nonverbal, where it is your face, and
Yep.
I'm a pretty you can kind of read my face a lot of times. I'm saying, that it's probably over exaggerated, but there's one part that I want to get your opinion about, and I see that Linda joined us too from Ready Set Go Speak as well. So I see her backstage.
Hello.
Hey, Linda. There's a part where people grab the podium like they
Oh
are
my
about
God.
to die, and every speaker, whether you are a public speaker or a professional speaker, should they use the podium? Even though the podium is there, how do you manage that podium? Because I'm short, I'm not tall, right? I'm like 5'2", so most of those podiums are gonna be just about as tall as I am. So tell
Yeah.
us a bit about that
Such a
podium
good
thing.
question. I can't stand the podium, but that's just my preference.
Me
But the
neither.
podium is technically a barrier to your body language, and it's
Yeah.
actually a safe space for people who are not comfortable presenting so that they don't have to manage that tapping foot, that swifting, fumbling of the hands. So it's a
Mhm.
safe place for what I would call a beginner presenter. But someone who's a little bit more advanced, depending on if the podium can be moved, I always suggest that you move it, but also depends on how the room is set up and what happens before and after you. So sometimes that change is not as easy to make. But in instances where a podium can be easily moved or added back, I would always remove it because people hear with their eyes.
Mm.
People hear with their eyes. So they need to see all of those components like your hands and what your body is doing when you're leaning forward. They need to see those
Mhm.
gestures to help emphasize your communication. powerful presenters are using every facet that you can. And if you think about entertainers, they have music, smoke, backup dancers, lights. Speakers have a voice. That's it. You may have some slides. I don't know. Maybe some people do have backup dancers and music. But the at the bare bones, very similar to a bare bones vocal artist, they'll have a backup track. A speaker's backup track is their body language. And so removing the podium would be my suggestion. But if you're a beginner and you're still learning to manage those jitters and shifting back and forth, and you switch feet and your hands shake, then stay behind the podium until you can learn to manage those things. And Pam, when I say manage, I mean when you notice that you're shifting, when you notice that you're like doing nervous things with your body, you will stop. That's the management. Over time, you can develop that kind of awareness when you're speaking. But until you get there, the podium is a safe space. I think Autumn Pam isn't there. But I'll say this, and until Pam returns, is that in most spaces you will find, in addition to having the podium in front of you, sometimes the microphone is attached to the podium, and you will find that you have to lean into the microphone, and that takes away from your posture and ability to use your body language. So, what to prevent this from happening, what should happen in this place is that there should be a mic test based on your height and your natural volume, and the microphone should be adjusted to how the microphone sound should be adjusted to how um, you are speaking into the microphone. So if you have to use a podium and the mic is attached to the podium, ask to do a sound check and work on your posture being straight up, not leaning into the mic so you can be heard, because that takes away from the other parts of your body that you want to use. And so that's just a tip that I wanted to throw in there. It looks like Pam isn't back yet. So when Pam gets back, I'll share this. You can join me live for Stage Power Intensive Saturday, April 27th, from 10 to 3 p.m. The details about the event are at stagepowerintensive.com. And this is who it's for. If you are commonly asked to present information at high visibility events to external stakeholders, decision makers, and you desire to learn how to polish your presentation skills, Stage Power Intensive is a great place to practice that. And I didn't get a chance to say this, Pam, but you mentioned that you first maybe gained awareness about your presentation skills, your public speaking skills in college. Well, ironically, I taught public speaking courses at university, 3 courses to be exact. And I would meet students like how you experience all the time, hyperventilating at the idea that they had to present, like dropping the class. Actually, 50% of the people actually dropped the class. But my encouragement to them was always, it gets easier as you go. And I was a hard professor. But I say that to say the skill of public speaking is like a muscle. So even if you feel like you're already doing it, if you feel like you want to improve what you're doing, if you feel like it's something that you're not quite if proficient in, but you want to be, it's just like a muscle. And when you want to get stronger, you lift weights. When you want to
Mhm.
strengthen your voice, you practice. And so Stage Power Intensive is a great place to do that. And you can get more information about it at stagepowerintensive.com.
And thank you so much for keeping it going because it was like, I don't know what happened. But what I do want to say is that for anyone who wants to improve their uh, their speaking, you need a coach. Just like you would go, like I could go and work out and probably do okay, but if I really want to perfect it, I will hire a personal trainer. If I have a golf
Yeah.
game, I could probably go and learn it, go to the driving range. But if I really want to perfect it, you want to get a trainer. So I've had a golf trainer too before, and let me tell you, it makes a big difference because before I was just like practicing, but I was doing it wrong. I was like, so I'm just getting
Mhm.
better at doing it wrong. so so that part you don't want to do. So you want to make sure that you have someone that will give you feedback, You want someone that will help you with the tongue twisters, someone who will show you about different body languages at work, how to close. That's
Yeah.
always a big thing for me of how to open and how to close, right? Especially if you're doing like
Mhm.
a stage presentation, like how do you close? And the first thing that was is you make sure that everybody, you open it up with whatever. So it's like I don't have problem with opening, it's closing, and I can see people like with me, they're like, okay, wrap it up, wrap it up. I'm like, oh my god. So they tell me to wrap it up. What do I say? So what's your best tip, I guess you would say, for closing, like closing a presentation? Because that's always where people stumble. I think they kind of get the opening because maybe sometimes I have
Mhm.
some music and they can jump in, but how do you close? You ain't got no closing music typically.
You could, but think of it this way. Um, Most people are gonna forget what you told them. So ask yourself, what do I want them to remember when I'm no longer standing in this space? How
Mm,
you simplify that, get creative as you can. Maybe you show a visual to emphasize it. Maybe you do a call and response. Maybe you get them to stand and do it through affirmation statements. What it is that you want them to remember, that's how you close. If you have your own song like Pam does, you want to be known for being a PR expert, play the song. So, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want them to remember? That is how you should close.
that is good. That is good. Speaking of which, I do have a song. I'll play it. How long is my song? It's 55
Play it.
seconds.
Can
So
you play it?
I'm gonna play my song. So this is like my 24 years in business song. So we'll play my rap. This is not me rapping though, by the way.
Knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone, but Pam Perry PR, 24 years strong, she know the do's and don'ts, 24 years stepping over traps, hashing clickbait, so you stay on track. She still got game, world-class PR, going hard in the paint for beginners and saints, check it. Pound Perry PR, making all the moves, working her magic so you don't lose. Pound Perry making your dreams come true. She know what to do. 24 years in the game, put some respect on her name. 24 years in the game, put some respect on her name. We got mad love for Pound Perry PR. Keep doing your thing, you know what I mean. Bye, leave that, do your thing. Pound Perry PR, 24 years strong and still standing tall.
I just crack
Oh,
up every time
yeah.
I hear that. That is courtesy of Bob Ivory. He's been with me for 20 years. He's my creative director. So he said, we're gonna do a rap song. I'm like, okay,
I
like I'm
love
gonna be like
it.
MC Pam, right? Like, okay.
Pam, I did want to add this. When I went through Speak Sell Shine, um, my media exposure was accelerated. I've been doing this work for 10 years and I haven't had that many media features in 1 month. And so I wanted to thank you for that. Thank you for being the guru. Thank you for planting your feet and staying there for over 20 years. And all of the
Mhm.
people that you assemble in the room. I mean,
I hope you keep in touch with them. You all were handpicked, right? It was a small group. It was handpicked because I was like, I want Linnita to meet Letitia, and I want Letitia to meet T Ray. And it's like I want you all to keep to get in YB, obviously YB. So that is really, really key because
yeah.
community matters, being around
Yes,
the
it
right
does.
people, and people that care. So even though with
Yep.
small group, we will say to you, well, let me look at your website, or why are you doing that, or why don't you do
Mhm.
this? What This is a good thing that you should do. It's like because we all have blind spots. I mean,
Yep.
Lindsay gave me so much clarity of blind spots that I was missing that I was like, oh my God. I said, I've been doing this for 24 years. So we always need someone to tell us or to guide us
Yeah.
to say, hey, that's great, but how about you do this? And so I was so glad you were in the New York Weekly. I really am, because with Tony Robbins being on the cover, this gets picked up a lot. And then also too being in the magazine as well. And then, when you're doing the pivot, your picture was shot here at the press club. When you're doing a pivot, it's like y- it's a lot. It's Stacey Harkins wrote a poem called The Pivot, but it's like you've got to uh, redo every single piece. And
Yep.
you even did the name vocal. value.com. That's a whole new brand as well. So just really, what I call it, you're doing the Google things, right? You've got your website comes up first, and then you got to change your Facebook, your YouTube, you got them other stories. And I would tell people, I said, take these stories that you have, and actually share them with share it with your local TV station, share it with your local radio stations. You can
Mm,
take the print and share them with that, so they can have a bigger story about you, not just your website, but a bigger story about you, and then they can pull a segment out of that. They love
mm.
doing that, because now you got 2 pages in here. I mean, if they can't pull 7 minutes out of that, they're not doing a good job. So those are the main things, because they need a lot of content in order and they can use it as B-roll. You got your speaking reel, so you can do that as B-roll. So you have a lot to really be like a regular on one of the networks there, and just be like the public speaking coach in residence for them, explain to people how to speak better, how the breathing. You talked about the breathing from the diaphragm. I remember that from speech. I was like, yeah, I do need to do that more. But you need a coach to tell you that. And those are the
Yeah.
things that I see in you, that you should be doing with your local media and radio as well. But they do need to see you, because you're walking and maybe talking. Do you like people to walk and talk, or what's the rule on that? Because there's some people that walk so much, it's kind of like they're making me nervous. So what's the rule
Yeah,
on?
I think that, your body should always mirror what you're communicating. So if you're deep in a point emphasizing it, you should be still. If you're
Mm,
talking through something that's really like you really want people to be in that moment, you gotta be still. But if you're being fluid, you're telling a joke, you're transitioning, you can move as long as your back isn't towards the audience.
okay, okay,
So this gets a little tricky the larger the room because at some point your back will be behind someone. But if a camera is following you, that's just a question to ask the tech team when you are in the event space.
I love that.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, you're doing a really, really good thing. So people can go to your website, or either you would rather them go to stagepowerintensive.com.
either or.
Yeah, either one. And then they can actually find out more about you, how to engage you, because I think a lot of times, especially those in the C-suite, they want to go to the next level, and they could be being considered for a promotion.
Mm,
And the impression that people are going to remember about you is not necessarily like, oh, they did a great job on that report. They're gonna remember how you sound.
yep.
How what is your speech like? So that's really yes, you do need to go do a good job. I'm not saying that, but
Mhm.
you do, if you want to get promoted, you have to command the stage. You have to have stage presence, stage power. You have to be able to be a leader and communicate well. And so that, what Linnita was saying, takes practice. And so
It
you want to
does.
make sure that you have a coach that will take you through that. So thank you so much for joining us today on Speakers Magazine. You've been in there twice. You're going to be in there again probably sometime this year, I'm sure, as well.
Mhm.
Do you have any other events coming up, or places where you're speaking Black History Month, or Women's History Month? Are you speaking anywhere? Are you part of BSN's? Um, your podcast. Tell us about your podcast. That's every.
It is every Tuesday. It is on sabbatical right now as we prepare for our 3-day challenge, Present
Okay.
Like a Pro,
Okay.
that starts on Monday, February 19th. It's free. To
Okay.
register, you just go to growmyspeakingskills.com. We're
I
going
like
to the basics, back to the basics for 3 days. So yeah, you can join me there, find more information about that. It's growmyspeakingskills.com. Free. You get me free for 3 days. And I'll share this. We have a 20-minute social hour after every class.
that.
So if you
Okay.
have questions, you want to ask, you want to kick it, that 20 minutes is reserved for those who attend. So growmyspeakingskills.com. We start February 19th. It's free.
I like that. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put grow my speaking. And I just said hi to Tracy over there, speaking
Hey Tracy.
skill.com.
Skills. Grow my speaking skills. Yeah.
Okay. So that way they can know, grow my speaking skills. So for 3 days, they're going to be
Yep.
challenged to grow their speaking skills. And that is so, so important. And that is having a coach. She's been doing this for 10 years plus, probably longer than that now. I'm thinking because you were
Almost 11.
yeah, almost 11 now, because it was 10 years when you kinda, like, not the youth thing anymore. And I always tell people this, that those who are youth speakers are really more prepared or know how to command the stage better than those that haven't spoke to youth. And the reason why we know
Mm,
this is that their attention span is smaller. And they
yeah.
they they don't care if you don't, I've taught schools before, and it's like, "Okay, will y'all pay attention?" You've gotta have a
Mhm.
different type of energy in order to do that. So I always say that people who are start out as youth speakers, Ariel Moody, uh, Delatoro McNeil, I think we went through the whole names. Willie Jolly, his first speaking was in front of a bunch of kids in high school. So yeah, so those are the ones that really like they cut their teeth on like learning how to speak because if
Mm.
you can hold an audience of young people, you can
Yep.
really do it. You can really do it. So thank you so much for joining us today and for holding it down when I kind of lost my when the energy took me out. I don't know what was going on. I think you know what it was. I think it was my applause that pulls up a lot
Mm.
of energy. So, I don't know what that was about. But thank you so much for
Okay.
joining us. And then Linda was here as well. But we'll have this recorded and it'll be in my Ready, Set, Go Speak community as well so that people can see it. It won't be on the YouTube channel. It'll just be in the Ready, Set, Go Speak community. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really,
Yeah.
really, you are doing a great job. And I'm so super proud of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you. She is doing a good job. So make sure that you go to growmyspeakingskills.com.